All right, hey folks, it's Jaime Oikle here with runningrestaurants.com. Another episode of Cracking the Restaurant Labor Crunch. This one is going to be fun because I have a former classmate going all the way back from high school who is a restaurant operator up in Beverly, Massachusetts. Craig DeOrio of Fibber McGee's. How are you, man?
Good, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
What's interesting, and we'll date the show. Sometimes we don't always date the show, but this is the morning after. So Craig was at the Boston Red Sox last night, the last 2 nights, he says. So he's a tired restaurant operator. Imagine that, Boston Red Sox fan. The crowd has been unbelievable at the games. By the way, just seeing everybody on top of each other has been jarring for one thing, but it seemed like they're having fun. And unfortunately, you had to withstand a horrible 9th inning there yesterday. But how's the sentiment there with the Boston fans?
Pretty confident up until last night. Now, we'll see what happens. I think at least the series is only tied 2-2. So, lost home field advantage. Kind of stinks a little bit, but we'll see. Anything goes, I guess, in October baseball. So, but it was a lot of fun going the last couple of games. But it's also always tricky to to try to juggle the work-life balance.
Yeah, I can imagine they've hit a bunch of grand slams. It's been fun. They're exceeding their expectations. But yeah, man, being up 3-1 feels a lot better than being 2-2 and so forth. But anyway, I hope the Red Sox can pull it off. But anyway, we're here to talk about restaurant labor. I've seen Craig post stuff on his feed, at least on Facebook. I see his stuff. He's probably on some other channels, so we can talk about that. But you guys, like every other restaurant, has been looking for staff through this challenging phase. What have you guys done that's worked? What are you trying? What are you seeing out there?
You know what? It has been a challenge, not just for us, but in talking to other people that own other businesses, not just restaurants, but certainly restaurants. I think time has really played a factor, and time in the sense of unemployment. We're starting to see a little bit of an improvement in terms of people applying. I'd say up until the federal end to the unemployment benefits. Everything was pretty much, you might get an application every couple of weeks, and then that person either just wasn't necessarily qualified, or they weren't returning a phone call. When the unemployment started to run out, you started to get some more applications, but they wouldn't show up for the interview, or like a week or two after that, they'd start showing up for the interviews, and then, but wouldn't necessarily show up for the first day of work. And then you'd have people that would show up for the first day of work a couple of weeks later, but they'd work a couple of days and say, I don't want to do this. But we actually now have a handful of people that have been here for, I'd say, a month or so now, or at least 3 or 4 weeks. And it seems like there's a decent crew that hopefully we can retain for a little bit longer than just a few weeks, so.
Totally different, right, man? I know that, ghosting used to be a thing, but it's like, it comes up in everything we talk about and everything I read, just people saying they're going to show up, don't show up, saying they're going to work, don't show up for work. That's been a phenomenon that I don't think existed 2 years ago. That's been crazy. What do you use? What have you been using for the application side? Just, hey, come into the restaurant. Hey, use Indeed. Hey, use how you getting people to start?
So the few things that we've tried has been, obviously social media, Facebook, Instagram, Indeed, even tried Craigslist a few times as well.
Your own list?
Yeah, exactly. I wish that was mine. I probably would be having this conversation right now with you down the islands, maybe.
Yeah, that's right.
But the thing that probably works the best was actually I posted some signs up inside the restaurant. And that seems to have gotten some of the more recent candidates, and some of it is either their customers or work customers or are friends of people that worked here, so the networking or the get through the connections. Those seem to be the best in terms of retention or retaining them after that, or at least getting them to show up and not ghosting, right? I think at one point a lot of the Indeed stuff for us just hasn't worked. I don't know why, but it really hasn't. So it's really just been sort of people coming into the place, seeing some signs outside, inside. So that's been so far the thing that's been the most successful.
Did you do anything for your current staff in terms of referrals if they bring someone in, or have you given them any more money for staying around? either of those?
Yeah, so we haven't done any referrals. We haven't done any signing bonuses, any of that stuff. The couple of employees that, when I say employees too, I kind of have to kind of break it out a little bit. There's a front of the house and a back of the house. This is a full service restaurant, so we have a front of the house who really. There's been a little turnover in COVID. Actually, there's been a probably significant for us because most of our employees have been with us for 8, 9, 10 years. I'd say 50% of them are those currently, and the others maybe have been the last handful of months. But the front of the house is a different animal. It's all tip generated, and we don't seem to have an issue in that capacity. It's really the back of the house that when I'm talking about this, that we're kind of discussing is the guys in the kitchen. And so, about, the guys that have been with me for a while, they were great during COVID. They worked. We stayed open as much as possible. They worked a lot. They were happy to be able to get, a weekly pay. And they were great about not kind of coming to me and saying, hey, we want to raise, at the time. But that was, a year and a half goes into it. And they did kind of come out and say, hey, listen, we think we deserve more. Plus the market is adjusting, which I totally understand, So for the few key guys that we had, we did a great job at sitting down and having a conversation saying, this is what I can do now. And this is what hopefully I can do in the future, but let's see where the future brings us because we don't know. This is pre-Delta variant when we were talking about it. So, that sort of, the Delta variant, not knowing whether we're going to shut down again. I got a little concerned. So we did do some retention bonuses with those guys. I said, listen, I'll adjust your rate and I'll also give you, some money, some bonus today. And that's reevaluate it, let's say at the end of the year, see where we're at. So that was sort of what we did with those guys. And then, in terms of the people that we're bringing in, I think our hourly rate is pretty competitive. I think we kind of err on the side of giving an extra $1 or $2 an hour maybe to attract people that way instead of doing the bonus. Because we're looking for people that can handle a pretty serious workload back there too as well. It's a pretty high volume place, so there's a lot of nonstop kind of on your feet, go type of stuff. So.
You guys are in Massachusetts, obviously. You guys locked down as hard as probably any part of the country when it was early COVID stages. I'm sure there was panic along the lines for sure. Government funds end up being a part of the equation for you guys with the relief funds and round 1, round 2. Any of that help along the way?
Yeah, I think each ownership or each restaurant really is different, in terms of how they go ahead and get into the relief stuff. We definitely did a round of PPP. We did a second round of PPP. And then there was a restaurant relief fund that we were fortunate enough to get in on early enough from an application standpoint. So we were able to get some funding from that as well. Yeah. Where I know not everybody was. And I actually, honestly, I haven't been following more recently whether or not, I know they were looking to try to put some more funding into that. But for us, yeah, we did, my background is accounting. It's not really restaurants. So at least for, my degree. So, that was really where I targeted, making sure that we were able to get the most that we could get from the relief. So.
Yeah, and that's good. I kind of forgot about that on the background, the accounting side. That's good. Yeah, there was an accountant that we interviewed when it was all going on. There was so much, all the paperwork, all the stuff you had to apply and track, and so having that mindset in your background was definitely a plus, definitely a help. And then hey, let's stay there for a second. So we go back to high school, and the math just screwed with me the other day, man. Like 30 years is like that's not good math. I was like, what the hell is happening?
It's getting scary. My son
cool.
is actually a 7th grader now there at the same school. So it's kind of funny. He's running cross country, which is what I did there. And to watch him and the coaches are still the same coaches that are there. So that's kind of crazy 30 years later, So
that's wild. That school's got great retention of staff. A great school up in Danvers, Mass. So that's good that they get to go there and see that, man. We've joked for years about moving back and putting my son there. That would be fun. But let me ask you a question about anything operationally you've done. So we got the labor crunch, and that makes sometimes we're having less people. So obviously you've probably run shifts where you didn't have the optimal number of people, and a lot of operators have started to fish into the technology pool for stuff they can streamline, whether it's scheduling or inventory or stuff that takes hours away. Anything you guys have found that's been helpful on the tech side?
It's funny. I am not the best when it comes to the tech stuff, which I get probably a lot of operators, restaurant operators, are not. Change is good, but sometimes it's very difficult. And during the time, the last 18 months, we've been changing a lot. But then sometimes it's just hard to make some changes. So like one of the things that I tried to do, and I didn't end up actually being successful at it at this point. I signed up for 7 Shifts, right, which is a scheduling app, right, to try to help with some scheduling, especially in the front of the house. And I just haven't been able to, sit down and really get it working right. Get everything input and it's just hard. You have to carve out a decent amount of time to do that. So in terms of, technology, probably really haven't, used a whole heck of a lot. We didn't upgrade our POS during the pandemic. All things that I'm a little bit more conservative, right? I want to get us out of the woods before we actually end up saying, okay, let's start spending a couple more bucks and getting us back into it. And we're getting there. I think we're getting close. Business itself has been pretty good over the last few months. And in terms of customers, most of them are back, and they're really, a lot of them are really ready to go. We're almost could be busier if we didn't do some things like, and one of the questions you had was, did we do anything operational? Our hours are still kind of curbed a little bit. Instead of being open till 1 o'clock every night, Sunday through Thursday, it's really only 10 or 11 o'clock really. We just started bringing back live entertainment this past Saturday. So that's another thing that we, kind of dipping our everything is like, you dip your toe in to see how it goes and then go from there, because you just don't know what's coming around the corner. So, so a lot of different things that we've been doing to sort of get to where we were. But, operational wise, we still have servers and bartenders acting as one role, one job. They pool their tips still, which is something that we didn't do pre-COVID. I'd like to get back to that at some point. But just making that change and kind of this upheaval of, what we've been doing for 18 months now, even though we've been, we were changing on the fly regularly. It's hard to do, especially in the middle of a busy time of year. So
pivot, change, pivot again, figure something else out. I like that. I like that you call dipping toes and like getting back into something, seeing if it works, seeing if it sticks, right? So you get the music and you find out, okay, yeah, people want it. Boom. Let's book it again. You talk about curbing hours, and one of the frustrations I've experienced it as a guest, but we hear from operators is knowing that there's more business out there. You're leaving money on the table because you can't be open necessarily the days or the hours you want, or you got to close a section of tables because you don't have staff. And that's got to be the worst feeling. Like when that people want to give you money, but you can't take it. Yeah. You have any of that?
It's funny because when I'm here, kind of, I'm here sometimes running the floor, running the operations, and sometimes I'm not. And I know that when I'm here, I'm trying to get every dime, right? Every person that comes to that door, I'm trying to find a way to get them to sit down and spend some money. But I'm also aware of the fact that, due to staffing, although we're pretty close to being back to full staff, but due to staffing, maybe it's going to take a little bit longer for food to come out or for somebody to serve them, at the tables. And, the big thing for me, I've always said this to my staff, is that you got to set the expectation, and if you can set the expectation when the guest comes in right away, then at least they're aware that, hey, listen, it might take 45 minutes to an hour for food to come out. So if you're really, really hungry and you can't wait that long, just know that that's what it's going to be. And if you're fine with that, and most people are, they say, you know what, that's fine. We'll sit and we'll chat and we'll have a drink while we wait. And it's not a big deal. So setting that expectation is, I think, key. And people, and the other thing too is that I think the general public is a little bit more knowledgeable through, the news and media about what's going on, whether it's
true.
Whether it's the labor shortage. They see the signs when they come in. I think that was a big thing. Putting the signs up was key to try to get some employees, but it was also kind of sort of an advertising marketing ploy to kind of say, hey, listen, we need help and just bear with us,
You're right, man. I've same feeling. I see that they're looking for staff. So it's like, shoot, I know what's about to happen here. I know it's going to be slow,
yeah.
I've been a little bit more gracious when we've been out. We've been frustrated a few times, like we're in a big group or whatever after a game or something. We're chilling, big group. And you're like, it's taking forever. What's going on? I've read stories about bad customers. Have you guys had any of that where people are like, what the hell, man? I mean, give me my food.
Yeah, I'd like to
That's
say
Boston.
no.
I mean, someone must have got unruly at some point.
Yeah, I'd like to say
kidding.
no, but there was a guy a couple of weeks ago. He had a couple of drinks, and I'm not sure if he had a couple of drinks before he got here, but had ordered some food, and I don't even know what occurred between him and the wait staff. But the bartender kind of came back to me saying this guy's upset and he's being rude or whatever. And before I could even come out, he was already gone and he left and he didn't pay his tab. And the to-go food that he had ordered was sitting at the bar, so it was ready. So I don't even know what the concern was, but so I actually had another one of my one of my bartenders actually volunteered to go walk down the street and find him and have him pay at least for the drinks,
Yeah.
So which was good, but yeah, we've had a little bit of that, but not really. I mean, people I think are for the most part are understanding. They understand. The labor shortage. They're starting to understand the supply chain issues. We haven't had, we serve potato skins and we have not been able to get potato skins for 4 months. It's on the menu, and I'm not going to change the menu because you have to print that, you have to copy it, all that stuff. So it's not like we're going to change that daily, but, people are kind of, they see in the media, they're starting to understand, hey, they can't get I actually went to a breakfast place, a cafe, and wanted a large iced tea, and they said, sorry, I said I wanted a medium or something. They said, all we have is large cups. So that's fine, it's not an issue, but getting plastic cups, getting to go and takeout stuff has just been a nightmare. But I do have an amazing chef who really knows what he's doing. He gets ahead of it. We actually ordered a bunch of takeout and paper goods in advance, like a 2 or 3 or 4 week supply ahead of time. We have the storage and we have the cash flow to do that, so that when there is that inability to get it on a specific week, we're able to kind of use the stockpile that we have. So
good. Smart to get ahead. Last thing I want to hit you with, because I want to go back to this. I love the mindset that you talked about. When you're in there, you're trying to get every dime out of the customers that are there. What's 1 or 2 tips you share with the staff to maximize the table revenue per table? Anything you share with them is like, guys, don't miss that opportunity. What do you tell them to do?
So it's been tough too. Like, one of the things is we have some outside dining, we have some inside dining. If you put a seat in every, or a person in every seat, inside and outside, it's actually more than what we had before. So it's even more overwhelming for the kitchen, right? So there's sort of that balance of trying to juggle the right amount of people without putting that overload on the kitchen or overload on the staff, which then in turns really hurts the customer's experience because it's taking even longer for the food to come out. So I try to tell them, I try to help them kind of seat the restaurant and try to, show them, listen, this is where we're at now. We'll do this, this is where we won't sit out back for now, right? But if all of a sudden we realize we're just got a wait of, 4 or 5 groups and everybody else has already eaten, okay, let's time this right. We can start sitting a few people out back. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that we talk about. I think one of the interesting things that I think a lot of people will agree with, people will come in. We're a pub, we're a bar, so there's seating. There's not really a waiting area, so people will come in looking for a table, and there might be a 30 or 40-minute wait. And in the past, they say, okay, we put them on the list, and they'd come into the bar and they'd stand and they have a drink. No one seems to feel comfortable standing and having a drink while they wait for a table, like behind somebody. I mean, a couple people, it's just, I have to explain to the customer. I say, they're like, oh, we'll just wait outside. I'm like, you're more than welcome to stand and have a drink. And they're like, oh, we can do that. I said, yeah, some of it is preference, obviously their preference. But for us, it's, I try to say, hey, listen, don't go anywhere, hang out, grab a drink. I'll get back to you in another 5 minutes and give you an update on if it's going to be a little bit sooner than say 30 minutes or whatever it might be. So
Yeah. It is a different vibe to be in a crowded place. People are still getting back and comfortable and whatnot. But it's super great to connect to an old classmate here, an operator up there in a challenging marketplace. I've seen you guys do it. I'm glad to hear that things are trending back well. Maybe we'll reconnect in another few months and do another session, check in on you. In the meantime, a big sports fan. So let's say go Sox, right? We got the Red Sox 2-2 against Houston. Hopefully by the time this premieres, they've won the series. And if not, we're going to look stupid, but whatever. Then we'll just change it to go Pats or Bruins or something else. Someone else will do well. Yeah. Next season, next sport. So, all right, this has been Jaime Oikle from runningrestaurants.com, along with Craig DeOrio from Fibber McGee's in Beverly, Mass. I want to thank our diamond sponsor, Performance Food Service, for helping us with this show. They are at performancefoodservice.com. We appreciate their support. Craig, we'll see you soon, man. Be well.
All right. Thanks, Jamie. We'll see you. Thanks.